Hello, everyone. My name is Manolis Finarolakis, the founder and CEO of Reality Crowd TV, and welcome to the State of the Union Address, an update that I want to give the community and everyone who supported Reality Crowd TV and the Virtual Incubator and Crowdfunding Network, an update on exactly what's going on with the past of our company, with the present, and into the future. Many of you have followed us from day one, which we began back in October 23rd, 2013, when we were inspired by the unaccredited investor equity and debt-based crowdfunding rules. And since then, we've taken an amazing journey that's brought us to this point. So I'd like to begin the presentation by kind of going over a PowerPoint and showing you a little bit of the history and discussing it a little further so you can understand where we've been, what we're doing now, and where we're heading into the future. So I also would like to mention that of everyone who is watching, many of you are watching from Google Hangouts. Some are joining us from the social networks, just popping in randomly. And a lot of you are joining us on Crowdcast. Wherever you're coming from, we would love for you to participate. And you can do that through using any of the question and answer features within the Crowdcast if you're watching there, or within Google Hangouts on Air if you're watching there. So there's multiple ways to collaborate, but we'll get to those questions as soon as we're through with the presentation and a few other items I'd like to share with you. So with that said, let me share my screen so that everyone can look at the presentation. And this is the short presentation I'd like to give. So the State of the Union Address, what does the future hold for Reality Crowd TV and for VICN, the Virtual Incubator and Crowdfunding Network? We'll go over the history of Reality Crowd TV. We'll talk about a portion of our business called the Virtual Crowdfunding Summit. We'll lead into the Virtual Incubator and Crowdfunding Network, and then we'll answer some questions from the crowd. So Reality Crowd TV, the history again, we started in October of 2013. At that time, I was an employee at the Hartford Insurance Company, and when I saw the amazing rules that were being implemented for crowdfunding on the equity and debt-based side, I was inspired to take action. And so I had a safe and secure job in October. 3 months later, I left my job at the Hartford to start Reality Crowd TV full-time. Throughout those years, we started out with our web-based show that really began in January of 2014. Since then, we've had over 80 episodes and counting, and there's no signs of slowing down on that front. We began helping people in 2014 as consultants as well and digital media advisors. We had 10 successes, 825,000 raised. We also had a few failures, so we're definitely not 100%, and crowdfunding is not 100% business. But through that thought leadership and through that experience, we ended up determining that there was a few things missing in the industry. And so at the end of 2014, we did some planning, and at the beginning of 2015, we launched the Virtual Incubator and Crowdfunding Network, and we were coinciding that with an online conference called the Virtual Crowdfunding Summit. That's a lot of virtual words there, I know, but it was part of a broader strategy to really embrace the online method of crowdfunding and to provide these communities and these opportunities to learn more through the online mechanism. So up until this point, that is a pretty good summation of what's happened. We had a lot of good experiences. I'll talk about how we actually won a Comcast grant in a moment. But before I get there, you know, we started the company with two co-founders. It was myself and my co-founder, Jessica Sun, who was the former CEO of Reality Crowd TV. We were working extremely well together. And then towards the end of last year, due to other elements outside of our control, we decided to split up. And so there was leadership turnover at the beginning of January of 2015. Jessica is still involved in the company. She's still an owner. But she's just not in that same position as she was as CEO, which I now have taken over. So that's some of the, I guess you can call them the struggles of a startup is, you know, there's always things that happen that kind of throw you off your game, and sometimes you just have to go it alone. So throughout all this traction and through all this work, for the last couple of months, I've been experiencing a little bit of burnout. And you might be asking me, why, Manolis, are you telling everyone that you're feeling burned out? Well, I want to be completely honest with the community. I want to share how I feel, because it's important that when you have feelings of burnout, that you never give in to them, but you have to find a way to get out of that feeling of burnout. And that's what part of this State of the Union is trying to address, is my own feelings of burnout, to really just determine what part of my business and what part of Reality Crowd TV is causing that, and how can I rectify it. Will it be hiring more people, which is definitely in the works? Will it be automating certain things, or will it be saying no to certain things? A lot of times you just have to learn the power of saying no. So with that said, we are at a pivot point to address these feelings of burnout and ultimately to have a sustainable organization. And so this is a little bit about what I'll be talking about when we get to the other sections, that I am adjusting certain elements of the Virtual Crowdfunding Summit, as well as the Virtual Incubator and Crowdfunding Network, to make it a more sustainable organization that runs without me having to be there all the time. And so that's the point of this State of the Union. And so let me go back again before I change the slide. Let me go back again to tell you about the use of proceeds for the Comcast Grant. For many of you who may not know, we applied for this Comcast Innovation for Entrepreneurs Award, and that occurred back in February. And 2 months later, it was announced that we were one of 32 regional finalists out of thousands of applicants. And as a regional finalist, one of the 32, you're automatically granted $10,000 just for being named. So we were very grateful for Comcast for that. There was also an opportunity to win $30,000, a total of $20,000 more, if we were one of the top 6 finalists out of the 32. Unfortunately, we did not make that cut. But either way, this $10,000 is going to go a long way. And so what we're going to use that for, which I'll show you later on in the presentation, is to ultimately upgrade our brand, our sites, and our image, and implement technologies to make it a lot easier to run the day-to-day operations of Reality Crowd TV. So a lot of it is going to go into, if not most of it, into the redevelopment of our website to ultimately reflect where our company is today versus what is currently reflected, which is the past. We're making a big shift to really rebrand and show who we really are. So the Virtual Crowdfunding Summit. So again, this was an idea that was born during the last 2 months of 2014. November and December, I did a lot of brainstorming, and I said to myself, we've done all these amazing webinars, but how can we make it into a massive event that really catalogs the whole crowdfunding industry on a global scale? And the idea became, it's time to actually create an online conference that will allow anyone from anywhere in the world to participate from the comforts of their own home, whether they're the speakers or whether they're the viewers. And so this was where the idea was born. And with the new technologies out there, such as we're using right now, it's entirely possible for anyone to create an online conference. So we've had a lot of good traction to date. We have over 100 speakers signed up, about 100 media partners, and we have about a handful of sponsors, and I want to thank them actually. We have Crowdster.co, which is a gold sponsor. They're a crowdfunding promotion and public relations application. And we also have patchofland.com, which is a real estate crowdfunding platform, who's also our client that we worked with now for over a year. So these are our early sponsors, and we're currently looking for additional ones. But that's part of this whole reassessment process that we're going through right now, is developing a package to attract them in larger numbers. And as far as registrations go, we have about approximately 400 people who have purchased or received discount codes to the Virtual Crowdfunding Summit on Eventbrite. So we have over 400 people there. And everyone in the VICN community will also be privy to watching the summit. And so that's another 2,800 individuals there. So total registrations is 3,100 approximately. Now here's a big change in the event structure, because as the time runs by, the virtual summit's going to be held from November 30th to December 18th. And as the time was ticking by, it's already July here, and I started getting stressed and wondering how I was going to pull off a completely live event with hundreds of speakers. And so I believe it could be possible to do a live event. I don't think that it's impossible. I just think that I don't want to sacrifice my personal life and lose even more hair trying to do it live when there's so many things that can go wrong on a live event versus a pre-recorded event. And so a lesson learned for me is I've already committed to making this a massive event, but instead of making my life miserable and having it all live and potentially causing disruptions in the service to all the attendees, which would be the biggest tragedy here is if it suddenly did not work, I am going to implement a pre-recorded schedule of the speakers. I'm going to pre-record all of the actual events beforehand and then release them to the public during that 3-week period from November 30th to December 18th. This will be the most effective way. It'll ensure that there's no glitches, and it'll be much more convenient for the speakers as well, because jamming them all in during this period would be an inconvenience to them as well. So having it pre-recorded now is going to allow for a much better experience, I believe, on all aspects. And it shouldn't change anything in the summit. It's still going to be an amazing summit with unique content that is only available through this online event. In the future, for next year in 2016, just to give you a future glimpse, I think we're going to do much smaller events that will be live. Maybe 1-day events or 2-day events that are conferences on a specific topic, and not make it so massive. We still might have the massive event at the end of the year and release all the content that was done throughout the year by these live events, but we want to have, you know, little mini conferences throughout the year next year on specific topics to ensure the feasibility and ultimately viability of this summit into the future. And the great part about this, which I'll start talking about on the next slide, is the content here is remarketable, it is reusable, and it'll be used to create curriculums and courses that will be full of content over and above what the recording is. I'm speaking with many of the speakers here and the media partners, and I'm looking to partner with these individuals to repackage the content into curriculum and joint venture with these individuals. So there's going to be a lot of use for this content in the future. So the incubator, again, you know, the history of the platform really, it came about because of doing the hands-on consulting that we were doing last year. Approximately 10% of the people who came to us either could afford our services or they had a business that was ready enough to actually begin the process of crowdfunding. The majority of people, 90%, either need more time to learn on their own, don't have an idea that's viable, or they simply don't have the financial resources to hire someone to help them. And so the Virtual Incubator and Crowdfunding Network started as my answer to those 90%. How can I help the 90%? Let me create this this platform here that anyone can use, that can become a community of mentorship, that can become a place where questions are answered at no cost. And of course, it could become a place to build trust and hopefully interact with other members. And if there are people who want to work together, then that's perfectly fine. They can go and work together. And so the platform really was born to help the 90%. But as many of you know who have been part of the community, the 2,800 of you, over the last week or so, couple weeks, there's been some major website issues. There was a period of 4 or 5 days in a row where the site had gone completely down. The hosting just was completely overburdened. There were some database issues that with the technology that we're using. And that's part of what sparked this State of the Union address, because I found myself spending more time trying to fix the website than actually help the people in it by answering their questions. So many of you now who have seen the site up, it's been up now for approximately the last week, it has been streamlined. It's very down to basics. A lot of the add-ons that I put on there were causing major issues with the hosting package because of all the embedding of crowdfunding campaigns and everything else we were doing. And so I decided to go down to the basics and review what really worked and bring it down to the basics. And the real value of that particular platform that we have is the question and answers, without a doubt, It's the webinars that we have just like this that are educational, and it's the community. It's the actual connections that are being made between the members that is the true value of the community. And so everything else was stripped down. And what we're going to do in general for the health of the future of the platform is we're not going to leave the technology up to me, because I know my limitations. I am not a technology individual, and I'm pretending to be one. I have all these dreams of grandeur to create this amazing technology, a global virtual incubator, and I still do, but I'm not the guy to actually run that part of this. That dream needs to be instilled in someone who becomes my technical co-founder one day, and him and I, or her and I, will ultimately bring that vision to life. But me trying to bring it on my own is just going to cause headaches for everyone involved, and I just need to know my limitations, because as much as I believe anything is possible, it's all about measuring your time. Everything is possible, but how much time do you have to be good at it? And so the future of the platform is going to rest on the addition of a technology partner, whoever that might be, sometime in the future. Now, the future of the platform also rests within the community itself. And this is an exciting piece of this that I'd really like to share with you. We know who we are, the people who are active in the virtual incubator platform. We know who we are. We see each other, we connect with each other, we're constantly answering each other's questions, we're posting interesting content. You are the ones who are the leaders of this community. And so for the leaders of the community, I'm going to invite you to this private community that is run by a technology called Slack. And it's going to be a mastermind group that will ultimately pave the way for the future of this platform and pave the way for the future of what we'll do here as a whole, as a strategy, as a whole, as a mastermind group, to ultimately take all the lessons learned over the last 7 months and make it a great platform. And I'll be reaching out to you privately. If you're watching right now and you're part of the virtual incubator and you want to be part of the Slack community, then you know how to reach me. Send me a message on the incubator or email me at info@realitycrowdtv.com, and I can consider adding you to the community. But this is really a commitment to the people who have been working with us from day one, who've been engaging regularly. People like John Chilton, Stephen Caggiano, Mark Horn, Teresa, Razvan, James Hammer. There's so many other people that I can name right now, but those people are the ones that just came to my head right now. This is really to get the opinions of the people who use the platform most and who understand the benefits, and together we'll design the future of what we'll do here together. And last but not least, as I alluded to on the previous slide, there will be a curriculum that needs to be developed. If I were to look at what I've done here with all of you, and if I were to say what could have been done differently with the introduction of this VICN platform, what should have been done differently is there should have been a curriculum created before the platform was created. But me, I'm a shoot first, ask questions later type of guy. I just went out there and created this and just kind of was spurred by action. But if I were to look back and say, if I were to do this again from scratch, which I'm not going to just scratch this. I'm just going to build on top of what we have. I would have built a curriculum that would essentially do what the platform is promising to do. The platform says from start to successful crowdfunding in 6 months or less. All that is in my head right now. It's not in a curriculum that's usable. It's not in any kind of written documentation except for a blog post, which granted it's a good blog post, but it's not enough to really help people the way that I envision this platform helping people. And so the curriculum development piece of the community should have been done before we launched, but now we're going to focus on the solution. The solution is to begin developing it now, use the content from the Virtual Crowdfunding Summit as portions of that curriculum. And there is a client I'm working with right now who is actually creating and is enlisting me and helping them in creating a course that I will be able to use the basic framework of the course I make for them in the course that I will make for the community. So I'll be killing 2 birds with 1 stone in the near future Starting this month, the course will need to be completed within the next month or two. So a month or two after that course is done, then the VICN course will be up and running as well. So there will be a curriculum here, ladies and gentlemen, in the near future. Probably, to be honest, probably not to be released until 2016. But I always like to give myself a buffer and then, over deliver. So hopefully it'll be done sooner. So that's that piece of this. Now we're going to go to the questions in a moment, but I also want to show you a few other items here that that will ultimately show you kind of where we're headed. So as I mentioned, the website redesign. One thing that's very interesting that I found, and I'm sure there's many tools that you can use for this. I just so happen to find this tool. This tool is called Simple Diagrams, and it's an easy to use wireframing tool that allows you to kind of sketch out how you want a new website to look. And so, right now, as I mentioned to everyone, our current website does not reflect the current reality of what we are as a company. This shows us as a reality TV show about the crowdfunding movement, and that was what we were when we first started. But now we're far from that. As much as I believe a reality TV show about crowdfunding would be amazing on primetime, and I could definitely provide the information and content to do that, again, I have to get back to earth a little bit. I hate saying that, but I do, and realize that we're no longer that program. We are more so an ecosystem of information, education, and resources to help entrepreneurs raise capital through crowdfunding. And so this current site is going to be redesigned to ultimately show the new reality of who we are. We'll be highlighting our webinars, we'll be highlighting our incubator, we'll be highlighting events, services, and community programs that we're going to be implementing throughout. And so as you see here over the last few days, I'm making it my mission to really redesign the whole site to really reflect what we're trying to do here. And that's the ecosystem element. We want to be the place where people go to get all they need about crowdfunding for free or be connected with resources who can help them. And the services here are not just going to be services that we provide. In fact, we're going to create an actual tool called the Needs Assessment Tool that we're going to team up with other service providers, and we're going to find a way that if there is someone with a need, and that need could be anything within crowdfunding, marketing, or business development, if there is a need, this tool will ultimately assess everything that that person needs, and it'll almost be a tool to send out notifications to our partners to say, hey, this is something that we're not personally going to handle. We want to team up with your company because you are the experts in that arena. Here is the person who just filled out this notification form. Please reach out to them and see if you can help them. And so we're looking to become that community, the community that embraces people through information and education, that provides webinars, events, and courses, and ultimately provides services, whether it's from us or whether it's from our partners, to fill any need that they might have at any budget point. And so that's part of our major overhaul that will probably take a couple months, if not 3 months, to get this new website up and running. But as you can see, it's already underway. So with that said, I also want to share with you this Slack community. This is the community here that would ultimately be used for those who are the more regular and engaging people of our platform. It's this private team communications tool that essentially is going to be used for the people who are really the movers and shakers in our community. And they're the ones who are going to be in this mastermind group. I'm still going to determine how often we have our group calls, but it'll be a mastermind group to determine the future of VICN and to also add value to each other, to answer each other's questions. It'll be my way of saying thank you for being so engaging, and we'll all just work together to kind of help each other, because ultimately what is a community without people actually engaging? And so I really want to thank and reward the people who have been engaging to date. I do thank you guys so much, and you gals. So thank you very much. Finally, I want to show you another thing that's pretty cool. I actually started organizing myself through Basecamp. And so I created a virtual incubator and crowdfunding network project. And for you, for all of you who don't know what Basecamp is, it's an amazing tool for project management. I'm going to use this from now on to manage all of my projects. And actually, I've gone a little bit hog wild here. As you can see, I created about like 20 projects over the last 2 days, and I'm like overwhelming myself already. But ultimately, it just makes a lot of sense to be more organized for your own projects. But now you can actually see that I have a more organized way of keeping myself organized. So I even added a VICN bug list. James Hammer just said that the YouTube is not working, so I added that to here. So I wanted to share that with you all so you know that I'm on top of things better now, and I'm organizing myself better. And last but not least, I would not be a good Greek if I did not share with you all this amazing Indiegogo campaign that someone in England, a marketer in England, had set up a Indiegogo campaign called the Greek Bailout Fund. As you all know, Greece has defaulted on their International Monetary Fund finances, and they're going to have a democratic vote this coming Sunday to accept or reject the bailout terms of the creditors who Greece believes are actually, you know, their terms are too strict. If Greece votes yes, then they'll probably receive a bailout from the European Union. If they vote no, then it's really unknown what might happen. And so someone saw the amazing hecticness that's happening right now. I mean, all the banks in Greece are closed. People can only pull out 60 euros a day from the ATMs. It's hell on earth in Greece right now. But someone, this gentleman, Tom Feeney from London, had this amazing idea to create an Indiegogo campaign to bail out Greece. And his funding goal is 1.6 billion euro, because that's how much Greece needs. And obviously it's nowhere near that here, but in 6 days, nearly 100,000 people have donated 1.7 million. It is the most people in one project that Indiegogo has ever had. And it just goes to show, I wanted to share this because it goes to show how amazing crowdfunding is, that when there is issues and when there is struggle in the world, the people come together for these major issues, and they really make a very symbolic as well as economic gesture doing it. So I've contributed to this. I recommend you all do it. Just Google Greek Bailout Fund on Indiegogo and just contribute anything you can to it. It's just amazing what's happening with it. So with that said, I am going to first go to the questions here on the VICN State of the Union here. And so please, everyone, if you're watching right now through Crowdcast, I really would like it if you would post your questions in this section, not the section on the back end, but the section here to post any new questions that you might have about anything that I said, the future of VICN, or anything in general. I mean, if you have a crowdfunding question on your project, I'd be happy to answer that here too. But let me begin answering the first question. And the first question here is by Stephen Garrett. Stephen, thank you so much for asking this question. In detail, how does your incubator operate? What are the steps to funding? So Stephen, as I mentioned, if I had to do this over again, I would have had a fully developed curriculum for the incubator. But as it stands right now in the newly redesigned incubator, what we're really trying to do here is ultimately make it simple so that people can focus in its current form. People can focus on the most important actions that we believe should be occurring in this platform. And to me, the most important action is asking questions as you begin your crowdfunding campaign. The question and answers tool is by far the most beneficial tool that we have in this incubator, because we have people asking and answering questions daily and helping each other out. and ultimately learning the ins and outs of crowdfunding and learning from the experience of other people. You know, one of the biggest issues that people have is that they don't find a way to ask for help. They don't ask the right questions. They go ahead and they shoot first like I do. I'm not immune to it. But the point is, if you have this resource, only a select few people are using it, and they're the ones who are benefiting the most because they're getting their questions answered. But that's really the key here, is using this tool to your advantage. Of course, the next best thing is also the webinars. This webinar and webinars like it, we host weekly programs, office hours programs where people can actually join our show live. We also host programs where people can ask the experts. We have other experts come in and chat. So I mean, this webinar is by far one of the biggest tools we have, and this is the playlist of the replays. We have a tab called webinars. All the replays are categorized on YouTube based on the most recent that occurred. And so if you ever want to see any of our prior webinars and all of our content, all you do is click on that webinars tab and review anything that we've held. And you'll see the amazing schedule of programs that we've had and amazing people on them. And then last but not least, probably the most actually, is the connections. The ability to just go and connect to anyone in our community freely. You don't have to pay a premium membership. You can click connect to anyone that you want. You can search for people's names and everything else. Is by far the most important thing to do, because you could partner with people on a project. You could find a vendor who is reasonable and you want to use. You can, you know, comment on people in the news feed. There's just a lot of things going on here, and as you can see, this is what I love to see. James and ML Harris, they're already engaging on the platform, and we also have a chat feature. So anyone that we see online here can chat with each other at any time. So that's another major benefit of the platform as it stands. Now, in the future, Stephen, the curriculum that we're going to build is going to be related to the 9 stages of crowdfunding. And so from start to finish, there's 9 stages. You have your business plan, securing your intellectual property, now social media marketing, public relations, your campaign strategy, networking and team building, website development, profile and video production, and finally the fulfillment piece and keeping your promises. And so what the curriculum that will be developed will entail will essentially go through that in a much more detailed fashion, giving you access to tools, resources, and videos that would essentially get you anything you need to get your project started. So, Stephen, I hope that helps you with the current way to engage, which would really be through the question and answers. And then in the future, the curriculum that we'll develop will be ultimately the real nuts and bolts of how to do the crowdfunding process. So we have our next question here from Sherry Griffin Coleman. I'm in the development stages for a line of inspirational jewelry that speaks the message of my first book. What steps do I need to take to secure funding? I have samples of my 3 pieces, and my book was recently released in May of 2015. My book launch is scheduled for October 2015 for Domestic Violence Month. I want to take my message global. Thank you, Sherry. Sherry, congratulations, number 1, and thank you for the question. Congratulations on the book. I admire authors so much because it's just something that that I personally would love to do, is write a book one day. And so congratulations on taking that step. And in your case, I would, if I were you, I always say that people need to start with market research. And again, I'll have to mention our sponsor here, Crowdster. But when you're doing market research, the best place to start is where success has left clues. And so we had a webinar last week that you can look at in the playlist of webinars. But ultimately, this platform, Crowdster, allows you to research prior campaigns that were successful in the past so that you can actually use their project as a template to your success. And so whenever someone asks me, where do I start? I always say, get a free account on Crowdster, check out the campaign analytics tab, which is on your right, and ultimately, whatever your category is, let's see if that would be, uh, oops, looks like I don't have my access granted here. That must be a new change. But ultimately, you'd be able to create a new account, check out your campaign analytics, and you would be able to find other campaigns that are successful in the past. So as you can see here, random lists of successful projects in a certain category. You'd be able to like look on Indiegogo, Kickstarter, Possible, and Rocket Hub, and if you find a book, for instance, Flick Book Kit, you would have been able to click there, and ultimately you would have been able to use that as your model. Now, after you model your campaign, you obviously have to develop a strategy as far as how you're going to go out there and actually market it. But that's part of what we're doing here with the community is when people have these types of questions, we always ask them to go to the question and answers tab and just simply ask the question. You know, I've identified a campaign that is similar to mine. I'm going to model their success, but how do I market? How do I market my campaign? What's the best avenue to take for my specific scenario? And all of that is as simple as asking a question. You just click the Ask a Question button, title it, type in your question, and bada bing, bada boom, you have people ready to answer. And so that's the best advice I can give on this. I don't want to get into too much detail because we have a few other questions and things to go over. Now, Roxanne says, thank you everyone for all the help you have done for us. I finally started my plans with funding. My fundraiser includes a range of awareness, help with medication, and research. Is it okay when tweeting to specific people my plan that fits their specific awareness? In other words, not generalized to everyone. So for everyone who doesn't know Roxanne, Roxanne is raising awareness for epilepsy, and she's going to start a fundraising campaign to raise that awareness and to help her with some of the key elements in her nonprofit organization that she's developing. And so, Roxanne, absolutely you should be more specific and targeted in your tweets. You want to reach a specific audience. You don't want to reach everybody and their mother. I mean, you know, selling ice to an Eskimo, they have all the ice in the world, but you need to actually reach out to that specific demographic who cares about epilepsy, and your messaging should be catered toward them and no one else. I mean, yes, there is a public appeal for epilepsy because I'm sure everyone knows someone who suffers, and you know everyone is sympathetic to that disease. But ultimately, the people who are going to want to help you are the thought leaders within epilepsy, are people who have epilepsy themselves and who are living normal lives despite it. You know, you're going to want to really reach out to that specific audience to get the best possible traction on your campaign. So I hope that answers your question. And Roxanne, always a pleasure. Norma Burnson. Norma, thank you for this question. My team is launching a new project that anyone can use to grow their fruits and vegetables. We intend to launch it worldwide. Can you share some tips that you used and worked during your product launch? Great. So this sounds like a really great campaign. You know, it's environmental. It's self-sustaining. It is probably going to appeal to a lot of people who care about those two topics: sustainability and environmental. And so, Norma, one of the biggest things that people neglect is they misconstrue crowdfunding for this magic place where they can throw up a project and the crowdfunding website will do all the marketing for them. What the first thing to realize in crowdfunding is that you are responsible for your own success, and that success comes from a marketing plan that is executed 3 to 6 months before you ever launch your crowdfunding campaign. And in those 3 to 6 months before you ever hit the fundraise button, what you're essentially doing is you're lining up people who know about you and who are saying that they're going to pledge during the first week of your crowdfunding campaign launch. The magic number seems to be 30%, I've been quoting that for a long time, over a year now. So I think I got to update my own records on that. But it's going to be even more. Usually they say 30% in the first week. Now they're saying 30% in the first 48 hours. So if your funding goal is 100,000, you need to get 33,000 within the first 48 hours to a week in order for everything to pick up the virality needed, for you to have the credibility to pitch to public relations specialists and journalists. And so all these efforts that are done before you launch, the first thing to know is 3 to 6 months before launch. The second thing to know, and in fact, when I talk to people and I ask this question and they say, I'm not willing to do this, I say, I'm not willing to help you, because it's one of the most important things to get you kickstarted. So I ask this question to people and I say, okay, so one of the ways we're going to get that 30%, which is so critical, is we're going to enlist the help, and I'm going to teach you and share with you templates to use so that you feel comfortable asking people for help. And the people that you're asking are your friends, your family, your acquaintances, people you know. When I ask the question, are you willing to ask people you know to be part of that initial 30%? When people say no to that, I say, I'm sorry, I can't help you either, because I'm not a miracle worker. I'm here to help you leverage your resources that are existing and bring you new crowds of people into your campaign. But if you're not willing to leverage your existing network, then you might as well not even try. Because how are you going to get people who don't know you to actually believe in you? It's because they see that you're willing and able to inspire your traditional network to help you. And so, in my opinion, it's just my own personal rule for helping people. I would not work with a campaign any longer. I've done it in the past and it didn't work out well. If people are not willing to utilize their own networks to get that first push, then they're shooting themselves in the foot, and they really don't believe in what they're doing. Because if you truly believe in your project, you wouldn't care where the money comes from. You would just want to see your dream come to life. So Norma, I hope that that is a good answer to your question. Next we have Eddie Edwards. Good going, Manolis. I'm with you all the way. Just let me know what you need me to do. Let me know and I will bring the Vic on my radio show. We'll let you know more in email. Eddie, thank you so much. Again, really appreciate your support. Would love to collaborate with you on your radio show. This is Zack Bob. Zack Bob runs an amazing crowdfunding podcast. Zack, hope you're doing well, brother. Hope everything's well in Oklahoma. And so he asks, Manolis, what is the one book you think every entrepreneur should read and why? Oh, that is a good one. See, with me, I'm 31 years old right now. I'm turning 32 on July 25th. And when I turned 25, I kind of went through what I'd like to call it a quarter of a century life crisis. It sounds funny, but with being a millennial, I think the millennials out there kind of understand. It's like, things are changing so fast. There are not that many opportunities for millennials in the economy. I mean, there still are a lot, but a lot of people have gone to college and haven't found a job. And so a lot of people are having these quarter of a century life crisis that I like to call it. And when I turned 25, I started reading vigorously and re-examining my life and trying to identify what makes me tick. Why do I do the things that I do? Am I doing things out of obligation? And are these obligations necessary? If they're not necessary and I'm not enjoying doing them, then why am I doing them? So I spent a reassessment process, and I read probably 200 to 300 books during that time period. And I will say this, I will tell you one book, but I will say that it was the culmination of multiple books with the same message being repeated over and over and over again that finally got me to the point where I felt confident running this business. I'd like to think Reality Crowd TV was born 6 years ago when I reassessed what I wanted in my life. And so I will give you the one book. The first book that I always say is you have to read the classic Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. He is the one who came up with the mastermind principle, which is bringing a group of like-minded individuals together to create an amazing business, service, product, whatever the case may be, just bringing like-minded people together, working in a spirit of harmony toward a common goal. He's the one who came up with that mastermind principle, and he wrote that book right after the Great Depression, the worst time in history when everyone was doom and gloom. um, he wrote the book Think and Grow Rich, and he's probably credited with taking a lot of people out of that depressionary state, at least in mentality. And so Think and Grow Rich, he has all these other amazing principles that are just, again, some of them are common sense things, but the way he explains it in a very layman manner and just makes you think for yourself to say, I know the right thing to do, but for whatever reason, I've not been doing it. And so that's the book I would say would be the first book I ever read. If there's a book that I can tell you to be the last book you read before you actually launch a business, it's going to be the Law of Attraction series by Abraham Hicks. And if any of you know who Abraham Hicks is, it's very weird. It's spiritual, it's weird. I will be the first to admit that I do not believe in the way that this individual actually comes up with these insights, but I do believe that the insights are dynamite. And so it's a book about the law of attraction, which is telling people about three things. Our motto is dream it, believe it, achieve it. That book's model is, uh, set it out into the atmosphere, believe that it's possible. And then the last key that I didn't have before I started this business, the last thing that I needed to learn was allowing it to happen. Just think about that for a second. How many times in our lives do we not allow for the great things to happen? We talk ourselves out of it. We find a reason to tell ourselves that we're not worth the business that we want to have. We're not worth living the life that we want to live. We just find a way to either let other people put us down or we put ourselves down, and we do not allow the great things to come into our life. That one insight, the way that they put it in that book, the art of allowing the good things to happen in your life and kind of somehow silencing those negative inner speaking or the outer people who are putting you down. The ability to have that allowing factor is just critical to success, because at any turn of the unknown, which there will be many unknowns in starting a business, there'll always be those voices. So you have to just allow yourself to experience that and to actually break through. So Zach, thank you, my friend. I hope you read I'm sure you've read those books before, knowing you. We got another question from Roxanne. When I campaign, some people just want money to research, some to seizure-trained dogs, and some to new medications. I have been only mentioning what they want to do because I want to all of the above. Is that okay? Yeah, Roxanne, I think it's okay. I'd have to see more specific messaging. Like I'd like you to email me after this program at info@realitycrowdtv and kind of email me the specific messages you're sending out so I can kind of see it ahead of time. But yeah, I mean, if you basically want to tell people what they want to hear as long as it's the truth. And so that's what I got to say about that. Another question from Eddie Edwards. Love all the Hicks books. They helped me in so many ways in spurring an action. Absolutely, Eddie. You and I are kindred spirits in that front. Again, I'm not sure I believe how she comes up with the insights in her books, but the insights themselves are dynamite. So let me actually switch over now to see if there's any questions in the actual Google Hangout here. And so it looks like there is. So we got Jason Aidification. Jason says, hello, I would like to thank you for creating this webinar. I have created a crowdfunding campaign on GoFundMe for a startup website called dollarposting.com. I have shared my campaign and made press releases, but I barely got any funding. Any advice? Jason, thank you for the question and congratulations on taking action. Again, taking action, I put at a premium. Without knowing exactly what you did, I would have to review your campaign, and without knowing the specifics, I would probably put it to this particular point. did you do a pre-launch campaign? Did you spend 3 months or 6 months making sure that all of your friends, family, and acquaintances knew, putting the pieces together for email marketing, social media marketing, public relations? If you put all those pieces in place and you still haven't gotten any funding, then I'm not sure really what happened there. I'd have to review what you actually have done. But that would be the biggest thing to tell you is most people do not put the time and effort in to actually prepare ahead of time. And so that would be the reason that I think you may not be getting any traction. All right, and let's see here. We've been going for a good 50 minutes. I can't believe it's been almost an hour already. I'm just going to do one more sweep to see if there's any other questions, and then we'll end the show for this evening. We'll look actually in the incubator here, see if anyone posted a question to my thread. I believe I saw one. And so we'll check it out. Okay, nope, that was just a comment. Looking back here, it looks like we're good here. And all right, well, everyone, it looks like we are at the end of our webinar. I truly appreciate everyone who watched tonight. I hope you got value out of what the future holds for the community. If anything, I'm doubling down on what we're up to, but I am being more focused, more organized, and I'm prioritizing certain things to ensure that burnout doesn't occur. And I really am grateful again for everyone, those who are watching live and those who will watch this into the future. We do this stuff for you guys, and I really hope that the future of our organization will inspire you to participate further and will ultimately lead to your success in whatever your endeavor may be. And so just like we sign off every time, until next time, dream it, believe it, achieve it. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful 4th of July holiday, and a happy belated Canada Day if you're from Canada. Thanks again.